The Chamberlain Case. The Chamberlain family had 5 members: Mother Lindy, Father Michael, sons Regan, age 4, and Aidan, age 6, and baby Azaria, who was 10 weeks old. On the 13th of August, 1980, the Chamberlain family left their home in Mount Isa and went on a camping trip to Ayers Rock. They travelled in their yellow Holden Torana. They arrived on the evening of the 16th of August and set their tent at a popular camping site. The next night, at approximately 8 p.m, Lindy put baby Azaria to sleep in the tent with her brother Regan and rejoined the adults, who were talking around the barbecue area. 10 minutes later, there was a baby's cry from the tent. Lindy ran towards it to check on Azaria. The next thing I heard was Lindy crying, my God, the dingo's got my baby." The police were called and Inspector Frank Morris responded. When he inspected the tent, he found paw prints around the tent area leading away. He also noticed blood on some of the blankets inside the tent. Police took statements of the campers and the Chamberlain family. Then the investigation began. Hundreds of volunteers assisted the search for Azaria, but their efforts were in vain and the body was not found. The coroner concluded that baby Azaria died from being taken by a dingo. However, a person or persons unknown interfered with the child's clothing, and that no member of the Chamberlain family was responsible for her death. The Supreme Court requested a second inquest in which things turned out differently. The case then went to trial, and things went downhill from there. The failing of expert witnesses led to much controversy and dispute as to the circumstances surrounding Azaria's death. The trial was deemed the trial of the century. There are 3 main types of evidence discussed within the trial: blood pattern analysis, plant evidence, and the behaviour and analysis of dingoes. Blood evidence favouring the prosecution. Forensic scientist Joey Kuhl concluded that there were at least 22 areas with fetal blood in the vehicle of interest. However, she destroyed her original tests and photographs of her analysis, claiming that it was standard practice. This limited the validity of her results. Dr. Jones and Professor Cameron stated that the blood found on the dashboard was consistent with the severing of a small artery. Professor Cameron went on to say that he found via UV analysis a handprint in blood on Azaria's jumpsuit. He also stated that he believed that Azaria died from the slitting of her throat. He stated that the lack of blood in the tent was inconsistent with the dingo theory and that the crushing of a baby's head would cause a spraying of blood. Blood evidence favouring the defence. Dr. Barry Botcher challenged the idea that fetal blood was found in the car. He stated that Kuhl's conclusions did not match her observations. After the trial, he contacted a German chemical company, giving them the types of testing Kuhl used. They replied that those tests could not confirm whether fetal blood was present in the vehicle. It was later found that the spots on the dashboard were in fact noise deadener. Dr. Vernon Pluken challenged Professor Cameron's conclusions on the lack of blood in the tent, saying that it could have been contributed to a dingo's teeth plugging the holes. Professor Cameron later admitted that he brought false beliefs to the examination. Plant evidence favouring the prosecution. Rex Kuchel, a botanical expert, studied Azaria's jumpsuit and the plants in the Ayers Rock area. He concluded that plant fibres on the jumpsuit matched plants in between the road and where the jumpsuit was found, and that there were no fibres from plants around the camping area. The last experts presented their findings based on dingo's behaviour, anatomy, and the general features of the animal. Les Harris, president of the Dingo Foundation, stated that based on his years of study on dingoes, that a dingo could indeed carry a small child in its jaws for long distances, that a small child would be seen as viable prey to a dingo. He in fact showed photos of a dingo carrying a baby-sized doll's head in its jaws. This favoured the defence of Lindy Chamberlain. However, there was a large amount of evidence which favoured the prosecution. Dr. Harry Harding, a biologist with expertise in hair, found 2 hairs on Azaria's jumpsuit, neither of which were dingo hair, stating that it was unlikely that dingo took the baby. Professor Malcolm Chaikin, a textiles expert, stated that the holes in the jumpsuit were cuts rather than something made by a dingo's teeth. He suggested sharp scissors were used. He said that the cutting of the jumpsuit created tufts of material, and 8 of these tufts were found throughout the car and camera bag of the family. Professor Cameron, an expert in wounds who is from Britain, contradicted Les Harris and stated that it would be impossible for a dingo to open its jaws wide enough to encompass a baby's head. His beliefs were based on observing plaster casts of dingo skulls. Bernard Sims, a scientist from London and an expert in dog bites, stated that he didn't feel that a dingo could carry a large weight without rest. He also found no expected dog bites on the clothing of Azaria, and that he too believed a dingo could not open its jaws wide enough to carry a baby's head. He demonstrated this to the court with the bones of a dingo jaw and a baby doll. Dr. Kenneth Brown, a dentist, examined holes in Azaria's singlet and said that they were not caused by dingo teeth. He said that one hole was caused by a slender, sharp and pointed object. However, Brown had no experience in investigating animal marks, nor any expertise on the behaviour of material when cut. On the 29th of October 1982, due to evidence given by these so-called experts, Lindy Chamberlain was found guilty of murder and was sentenced to imprisonment. However, on the 2nd of February 1986, Azaria's matinee jacket, which had been missing throughout the trial, was discovered. This proved that Lindy had not lied, and eventually led to the release of Lindy Chamberlain, who was paid $1.3 million compensation for wrongful imprisonment. It wasn't until the 20th of June 2012 and the 4th coroner's inquest that Azaria's death certificate was updated and that the cause of death was changed to being taken by a dingo.